Hello and welcome to FTTR. I'm Ian McQuaid and this is the latest edition of the Studio series. This is episode 3 and today we are going to be talking about See No Evil. Now, See No Evil was released in 2006 and it is probably one of the most well-known WWE Studios films. It is a slasher horror film starring Kane. Yeah. So, looking at See No Evil in comparison with other slasher films, and I'm going to bear this in mind, I am a massive horror fan. Particularly, I do love a good slasher. Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They are all my jam. So how does See No Evil hold up compared to some of the greats? Now obviously it's not that good, it's cliche, it's pretty poorly made. I think the biggest thing that I noticed while watching this film is one, the editing is nearly unbearable at times. Some of the cuts and the shaky cam and some of the transitions when Jacob Goodnight, that's the name of the bad guy, that's the name of the main slasher villain in this film, where he's looking at people, nearly gave me a migraine, a migraine, and it kind of shows when you look at WWE's production today and sort of where that came from. It's not terrible as many people have said it is. It's currently got a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I don't think it deserves 9%. I think it deserves better than that. Because there are some pretty inspired sequences. For example, there's one where one of the characters is being dropped down from a high, let's just say a high window, with a hose pipe. Bear with me. And she then starts getting pulled up by Goodnight. That was fairly inventive, the way it switched out the characters. You have to watch it to know what I'm talking about. Do I bother about spoilers? It's See No Evil. We'll see. But what is the premise? So the premise is that a police officer is brutally murdered in the opening scene by this mysterious character played by Kane, whose name I've already said, so do what you will. And it then picks up 4 years later after that horrific incident where another police officer who was involved in the event has taken a group of male and female convicts to do community service in a creepy ass abandoned hotel. Now that just sounds like a bad idea, but we need these characters for slasher cliches to ensue. So we have the hard leader, rebel leader. He's kind of an arsehole at the end of the day. We have the nerd, we have the hot girl, we have the other hot girl, because it's a slasher film and that's what slasher films do. It's the cliche, it's a very, very cliche cast of characters here. And then you have the police officer. And what I think really hooked me for this was the plot and the intrigue and the backstory of Jacob Goodnight. The rest is slasher filler, but I always find the backstories of these movie psychopaths fascinating. The Jasons, the Freddys, the Michael Myers. Sometimes they don't need a backstory, but I feel like his backstory really worked. And mildly, it's resolved pretty poorly at the end. But that's, it's only an hour and 20 minutes. So that's what they did. They just decided to wrap it up really quick. But some of the flashback sequences involving Jacob Goodnight are very disturbing. wasn't really what I was expecting. And the whole arc of how and why he takes people's eyes out when he kills them is, I thought that was relatively well done. Now, negatives, the acting is very, very bad. You know, there's some people in there who are okay, such as Rachel Taylor, but some of the delivery is just horrific. Like, it is hard to listen to at some points, particularly from the main police officer, who's one of the main characters. I thought he was dreadful, absolutely horrific. Some of the deaths are, you know, they don't live up to, you know, Jason wrapping someone in a sleeping bag and hitting them against a tree, for example. But they're okay. At the end of the day, I don't really know what more I can say about this. It's just a very borderline, average slasher film with Kane. Now, to wrap it into the wrestling world, how was Kane? I thought he was decent. They don't give him a lot of spoken stuff, which I think is a good thing, because the little bit that they do, his presence is great. You know, the way he moves, the way he runs down the corridors, and the way he just bursts out of things, I think was actually pretty well done. And they did manage to make Jacob Goodnight a menace, so much so that I'd like to, I don't know if he's in a game like Dead by Daylight, but I'd like to play as him in a game like that, or even the Friday the 13th game. Just give a skin, because he's basically Jason anyway. Kane brings the physicality to the character, and combined with the backstory, I think that makes it just compelling enough for me to not hate it. You know, I would solidly rate this 2.5 out of 5. Also bearing in mind that I watched it at 7 o'clock in the morning, so I was probably very, very tired at the time. And do you really want to be watching See No Evil at 7 o'clock? No, but I did, because that's my life. And I'll probably do the same for the second one, because there's a second one, I don't know. So, spoilers, I'll put a spoiler thing here. If you really don't want to hear the spoilers from See No Evil, which was released in 2006, then you can cut off the video here, but spoilers for the end. So there is a Mummy Returns CGI style Kane at the end, which just looks awful, because they stab him in the eye and he falls, and they had to do it CGI, and it's almost as bad as CGI Rock in The Mummy Returns. Almost. That bit really took me out of the ending. But at the end, he full on dies, as in dead. You see his heart splat. And then, as it finished, it was like, do you want to watch See No Evil 2? I'm like, there was no element of horror, as in occult horror, that can bring him back to life. So I'm very intrigued to see what See No Evil 2 is. So, if anything, it kind of made me excited for the second one. So yeah, I would probably give this a 2.5 out of 5. Border. It is just okay. It is the most okay film you could ever possibly watch. I think if you watched it on Halloween, you could have a good laugh, particularly if you're drunk. And yeah, you could have a good Halloween party based around a film with Kane being a big brute. So yeah, if anyone is interested in See No Evil, I watched it on Amazon Prime, and the second one's on there. So I will have a review of the second See No Evil next Sunday. So look forward to that. Thank you everyone for your support. Please hit the subscribe button and the like button, and thank you ever so much, and have a nice day.